Here in Matthew chapter 20, Jesus talks about the husbandman who went out or householder, and went out and hired folks to perform the duties in the vineyard. The vineyard is the world, The laborers are those who God's called through salvation to bear the good news of His salvation. And it's interesting because it mentions these points in time, like the 6th hour and the 9th hour. These are all important times in regard to the cross and the times of the cross, 6th hour of the day, 9th hour of the day. But then he's talking about basically, the ones who have a problem with, coming along at the late hour of time as far as salvation and their work for the Lord. And the problem that the ones who came along early had with the ones who came along late. And then he says, hey, I have the right to pay whoever I'd like, whatever I'd like, And then so then he mentions that he would go into Jerusalem and be betrayed into the chief priests and other scribes, that they'll condemn him to death. Here he just given an example, if they'd bothered to ask him what it meant. But I don't see that. Of his death, with the times of the cross and everything. And then he's just plain telling them here. And then immediately there came to him the mother of Zebedee's children with their sons, worshiping him and desiring a certain thing of him. They all always wanted something, It's like, okay, okay, we hear you, but hey, who's going to be sitting with you on the right hand of God? It's like, wait a minute, weren't you just listening to what he just said? So Jesus explains, that he says, ye shall indeed be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with. And I believe that means with the cruel death, that many of them would be also killed for his name's sake. But to sit on my right hand is not mine to give. And this is when the 10 heard it, they were moved with indignation against the two brethren. It's like, you still don't get it, It's still causing controversy, causing problems, getting irritated with your brother. And then he points out how the way the world does their business. But it shall not be so among you. It's not about who's in charge. It's not about who's in authority. It's who is the most humble. Who is willing to do the work of God and not worry about the treasures in heaven. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof, the junk that we can gather and glean here on the earth. Who cares? I've got problems down in my basement where, I've got a holding tank I can't afford to replace right now. But that thing could burst, the pipes to it could burst and flood the basement. And there's a lot of stuff that we got down there that could stand to be put in order and on, shelves or whatever that are on the floors and different things, that there's a lot of memories of stuff that could be trashed if that thing bursts, so I'd probably go down there right after I'm done doing this and fix that. But then again, who cares? Who cares? The stuff's all going to burn. We're going to go to heaven. The stuff's just going to be here, See old photos of folks, from years ago that, you find in a thrift store or junk shop, and it's like, who are these people? Bet you they really cherished those pictures from the 1800s, but now look where they are. But then it's interesting because then these blind men, who of course couldn't see physically, but also could not see spiritually. There was one other thing I wanted to mention. The fact that, that's when Jesus asks a question, he already knows the answer. Let's say, like, then came to him the mother of Zebedee's children, or their sons, worshiping him, desiring a certain thing. And Jesus said, what wilt thou? He knew what she wanted. To give her a chance to make the speech herself, and then same thing here. The blind guys. Hey, I don't know if these guys were blind from their birth, but if so, God had made them that way. And Jesus said, "What will ye that I shall do unto you?" He wanted them to humble themselves, as he does want us to do so when we come to him for salvation and for our spiritual sight, or for understanding of his word. He always wants us to ask. Ask, and it shall be given unto you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. We read that earlier in Matthew also. That's always the deal. That's why Jesus allows trouble to come, too. He wants to drive us to prayer so that we'll ask, that we'll receive sight and follow him.